Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf on a dreary Saturday afternoon here in the UK. Give us a thumbs up out there, anybody who's out there who's joining in today. Richard Perry, hello again, sir. How are you? So, if the video and audio is okay, great. Give us a thumbs up. I'm having problems with the internet speed here again. I'm doing my best, working my magic. Mixing the dials to see how far I get. Anyway, apparently the weather has not played ball with us. Certainly where I am in the UK, it seems as if it's been raining solid for the last 4 days. Anyway, but today, Richard Perry, you're not stalking me, mate. No, you're not. I'm glad to have you here. Today I'm going to be talking about motorcycle paint. I am still doing these live shows, testing my equipment at the same time as well. So it fits a dual purpose, of course. But guess what? Look, for those of you who are watching early, check this out. Check this out as my new pièce de résistance. Look, I've got another camera angle here, and it's working great. Unfortunately, it's so dreary outside. I'm using the light from the window, and it's gone all dark. But believe me, half an hour ago, it was great. But anyway, so now I'm just going back to a camera one. Look, I'm getting very professional with this as well. So I'm going to be talking about motorcycle paint, and I wanted to give you a few what's the word I'm looking for? A few experiences that I've had. I'm just going to turn this volume down a bit because I think it might be pinging in your ears there. There we go. A few experiences that I've had in the years. I've got to say, I will be the first to admit, as I said the other day, I'll be the first to admit that, do you know what? Paint, the colour schemes, body work on any vehicle is not my strength. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. I dare say many people do, especially when they're trying to, build bikes or restore bikes, that kind of thing. It's a specialist area in itself, isn't it? So, whilst my massive weaknesses, I would say, in motorcycling terms or motorcycle mechanicking or doing at bikes over the years, has been the paint work or making something look really nice. And also, I would say electrics as well. It's something I've had to work on really hard, and I'm still not really that happy with it a lot of the time. Mechanics wise, I'm okay with that, and I feel fine with that. What the challenge that I like with mechanics is actually trying to work on something that I've never worked before and see if I can find commonality with what I've already know with what I'm working on now. So that's what I find quite interesting. Just to keep the old brain matter ticking over. But in terms of paint, I've never really been that happy with it, I've got to say. Never really been that so involved with it that I feel that I could ever feel that I was doing a really good job. And as we know, with motorcycle paint or any kind of paint, the key is not in the application of the paint per se, but it's all the preparation, isn't it? It's the preparation of the surfaces, of making sure it's lit clean in the environment in which you're painting, and it's one of those things, you've got to have decent temperatures. You can't do it too cold. It's got to be a dust-free environment, let's say. And there's me outside with a spray can, a rattle can, trying to spray something. It doesn't quite work. I mean, just giving something a quick once over is great. One of the most fun I've had with actually spraying a bike is, again, it's one of the ones I keep on harping back to. It was a Honda CB750 chopper which I built, and I kind of built it purposefully in an old school way. It wasn't rat rod, it wasn't a rat chop, but it was just really old school, bare bones mechanical. That's really what I wanted that bike to be, and I think I achieved it. But it's it was one of those things where I didn't do a really good paint job. I tried to, but I got to say I failed miserably. I had a disaster with the tank. I had to actually go and get it sandblasted. It was rattle cans galore, which okay for an old school paint job was fine. But in the end, instead of cleaning the bike, a lot of time I just spray over it with black paint. I mean, it got to that point in the end. Whilst I was riding, Guesto and Lane, hello, you are here. It's been so long. It's probably been about this time last year since we last spoke. How are you? You're busy moving country. Nice to see you again. Well, wherever you are, I hope you're well. So those are just talking about motorcycle paint jobs and what I kind of like, or definitely my frailties. Definitely my frailty is making a bike look not clean, but making it look pretty handsome. And that's why people who build bikes, there are builders, people who build bikes, people who can restore bikes, people who can work on bikes. But then you need somebody else to bring that bike together, usually you send it out, don't you, to have the frame powder coated, because let's face it, they're specialists in doing that kind of thing, or painting. There's going to be that whole argument between painting a frame or powder coating a frame, which is the best way to do it, all that kind of stuff. I got you. But then it's all the tins, isn't it? As people in the motorcycle world like to say, the tins, the mud guards, all the fenders, as the Americans like to say, and the tank and all that sort of stuff. It's making, and then forget about that. You've got to consider the chrome as well. If you love your chrome, you've got to send that out to chromers or nickel plating or whatever. So there's basically there's lots to consider, there's lots to apply, there's lots of speciality in doing that kind of work. And whilst it really depends what kind of bike you're going to do, if you're just going to have a fun rat bike type thing, yeah, a bit of rattle paint never hurt anybody, what I say. But if you really want to make it look half decent, you're going to have to send it out to somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. And usually that's going to be, in some kind of paint booth, and everything. They've got it all climate controlled. So trying to do it at home, especially if you try and do it in the winter and all that kind of stuff, it's just impossible. You might as well just not do it. Just do not do that. I'm going to talk here a little bit. Jet LaFlock, hello, my northern neighbour. Hello there. Hello, how are you? Guest online again. We moved to Spain. Oh, did you? All right, in the middle of this pandemic law. Yes, we started checking you out for some info on looking after my bike. Oh, well done. Well done. Hello, Lane. Well, fantastic. Jeff LaFlock, Jason Momoa painted his HD with a spray can. So, pretty sorry job. Well, look, it depends. It depends what kind of look you're going for. As I say, back in the day, as it were, you're just getting any old thing just to cover it with a bit of paint. So there's a difference in styles, there's a different application, and there's a difference in what you're kind of looking for a paint job. I kind of like that rough and ready look. And it just is, it doesn't agree with a lot of people, especially if you're talking about what I'm riding now, Harley Davidson. There's a really big play on, having your paintwork looking great and having your motorcycle detailed and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I look at my paint on my bike now, and it's it's nearly a 2-year bike, and it's pretty sorry state, really. It really needs some good attention. And then I think to myself, do you know what? I'm just going to let it go for a little bit, because in a couple of years, I'm probably going to take all the tins off, as it were, all the mud guards off, and send it off to a painter and have it all matte black, painted. That's what I like. Paul Morris, hello. How are you this afternoon? Well, I've just gone live. That's right. I'm testing out some new equipment. Check this out, Paul. Check this out. We're on camera 1 here, but look, going to camera 2. Camera 2. There you go. Look at that. Camera 2. Here we go. Camera 1. For all of you who are just joining in, no, this is not an impersonation of Wayne's World. It is actually a motorcycle channel, and I am talking about motorcycle paint today. I'm actually in the man cave, in the workshop studio here, and it's absolutely freezing. As I say, it's been raining solid for the last 4 days here in the UK, flooded roads. It's a little bit reminiscent of the movie Hard Rain with Morgan Freeman. Anyway, so look, there are different ways to do motorcycle paint jobs, and there are different ways to take care of motorcycle paint and everything. And if you're going to build your own bike, there are lots of different ways in which you can do. If you're restoring your own bike, well, it depends what you're restoring it to. If you're restoring it to factory original, let's say in a proper restoration job, then you're going to have to get speciality paint and decals or decals made up as well, of course. If you're talking about, you know, bikes now and the quality of the paint jobs, well, it really depends on what application we're talking about. Because if you talk about a bike that is a show bike, let's say, you know, but you're buying it from a company like Indian or Harley Davidson or whoever like that, then you would expect a really good quality paint finish. If you're buying a motorcycle from, I don't know, some cheap manufacturer somewhere, let's say from China or somewhere, I don't know, anywhere, you would suppose that the paint job wouldn't be very good. That isn't always the case, actually. A lot of these cheap producers do a really good paint job, and they've got multiple layers, and they've got good protection underneath. And this is where we talk about the difference between motorcycle paint jobs and car paint jobs in recent years. Remember, back in the day, cars would just be rusting all over the place. Now, especially in the kind of weather that we ride and drive in, it's quite rare that you get a car suffering from bad rust, not for a few years anyway. And the reason is because I believe they're all zinc coated. Motorcycles, I don't think for the most part are, so they still suffer with rust areas, and that's why we've got to be a bit more protective of them as well. So, you know, just because you buy a big expensive motorcycle doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be guaranteed a great paint job, of course. Harley Davidson, as we know, it really depends who you speak to. Some people think the paint is really good. Other people say it's really bad. You know, I've had bad experiences with the paint on my bike, but I think a lot of it is down to me. I've got to say, hand on heart here, that I really haven't taken care of it as well as I should have done. I probably should have had it ceramic coated. I probably should have, you know, been really careful with the kind of polishes that I was using earlier in the day. I got a couple of little scratches on there. I'm sure one of the scratches came after I took it to a dealership to have it worked on it, but I can't prove that, unfortunately. So, you know, there's lots of things that I could say about my bike, my Harley Davidson. I think, well, the paint's not good. But, you know, lots of people say it's too thin. It hasn't had enough, there's not enough layers on it, not enough clear coat on it as well. It's hard to say. I mean, if you take a paint job, let's say from a sporting world, a race bike, let's say, or race car, for example, well, actually paint jobs on those are usually really poor because they don't want lots and lots of layers on a car, because it's all about weight. Okay, it's not about making something look pretty. It's making something go fast and handle well. You know, that's what the racing works. So you've got different aspects there. If you're talking about Japanese sports bikes, let's say, or European sports bikes, is the paint job necessarily that good? I wouldn't say it's anything better than a Harley Davidson or anything like that. I wouldn't say it's any worse as well. You know, we've got sports replica bikes, but then on those bikes as well, because of weight saving, we're talking a lot of plastics as well. So, you know, the paint finish on plastic against over metals is a slightly different thing as well. So I've had good and bad experiences of paint jobs, which I've tried to do. I've had good and bad experiences of sending my parts out to professional painters for them to work on the bike as well. And, you know, sometimes it's just worth paying that extra money and just going for the new technology out there, the new techniques out there. And all I'm talking about here is just color matching your bike, basic paint jobs, one color paint jobs. I'm not talking about custom paint here. I'm just talking about basic paint jobs. Let's get into the comments here as well. It was Jetlerflock. It was after they told Jason that it was his bike. He said, "This is my bike," and went to customize it with a spray can. Well, look, that's cool. That's cool. If I don't necessarily think that's great, but I think that's really cool. If that's something that you want to do, it's his bike, let him do it. This is the whole argument, isn't it? When people talk about you putting an accessory on your bike, or you modifying your bike in a certain way, or you riding your bike in certain weather conditions, or the way you beat it up, or whatever. It's your bike. Do whatever you want. If you want to put a spray can to it, then up to it. I've got a spray can to my my Harley Davidson, because I put the metal grill at the front of the oil cooler. It's always getting rusty. So do you know what? There's a little spray can on it. It's okay. I mean, I'm not saying I go over the bike with a spray can, but I have been tempted. I've got to say, I have been tempted. Well, thank you very much, Jeff Flock. Yes, thank you very much. It's a work in progress, this shop. There we go. Right. Oh dear, it was 22 degrees here whilst we rode across the Alpujarras mountain range. 22 degrees. I only wish it was 22 degrees. Lovely. Kevin DeWheel, hello there. How are you? Talking about paint, I paint almost €1,000 in HD to paint my saddlebags on my 2019 Sport Glide to match the orange of the motorcycle. Talk about expensive. Okay, so you paid Harley Davidson, did you, to do that? Because I know a lot of the guys were getting them dipped in paint. I mean, I don't know how expensive that was. Paul Morris, you have the rawhide denim paint on my Harley. It scratches so easily you can't buff it out. Yeah, okay, if we're talking about Harley Davidson here, that denim paint is a speciality paint, isn't it? And there's a special way to not only wash it, I believe. I can't be 100% sure on that, but also definitely they got special products, haven't they, to polish that or to clean it up. I do like the new paint schemes of the 2021. I'm going to be talking about that from Harley Davidson, Jeff. Yeah, especially the 114 Street Bobs. Haven't heard about the quality, though. Steph Yell, hello. 2021s I've seen in the showroom seem just as great as the previous years. Well, look, I'm sure there are. It always comes down to what you particular like, doesn't it? My big criticism with Harley Davidson when they launched the other day was there wasn't a lot of substance to their new products this year at all. In fact, you've got a Street Bob with a 114 engine, but you got the Fat Boy, kind of revamped, as it were, a little bit. But all we're really talking about, mostly, for the most part, we are talking new paint schemes. And they made a big play of, this paint here and this is how we've done that and everything like that. For really expensive bikes, and yes, they're really expensive, but it always comes down to cost, it always comes down to appearance, and always comes down to the maintenance of these bikes in terms of making sure they look good. The only way you're going to ever make sure that your bike stays really good, in good condition, is one, you've got to somehow get it protected, ceramic coated, let's say. The other thing is to never ever ride it in any kind of wet conditions, and then you just got to ride it and make sure that no road debris comes up and hits the paintwork. Well, you might as well not own the bike, you might as well not ride it if that's the case. I mean, so my point is there's always going to be degradation on any paintwork of any vehicle, no matter what you drive or ride. It's just a matter of time. On cars, the paintwork is better because there's more surface areas, more under protection and everything. On bikes, there's less so. And the colours aren't. Yeah, you're saying the colours aren't really grabbing me. I think there's some interesting ones. I think there's some nice colour options, let's say. You know, if we look at something like the Sport Glide, which I ride, you know, they got a new tank, and a lot of the soft airs, they got a new tank color option. They got a new tank emblem as well. Yeah, not too sure. Not too sure. Then you got the CVOs and the touring and everything like that. I mean, look, a lot of the motorcycle manufacturers this year have come up with new paints. It's on the whole, I would say, across the whole motorcycle spectrum, it's been a bit of a drab year. And I think the reason why it's been a bit of a drab year, it's got to be because of the pandemic. That's the only reason. You know, companies haven't really, or manufacturers haven't really, you know, pushed the boat out to bring out new motorcycles, new technology and everything. There has been new stuff coming out, of course, but it hasn't been dramatic. It hasn't been like a, well, I'll probably think next year, 2022, possibly the year after 2023. It really depends how long we take to get over this pandemic, of course. That's when we're going to see real big movement in the motorcycle world. So, you know, a lot of the manufacturers, all they've really done is come out with new paint schemes. Suzuki did it, Kawasaki have done it, Honda have done it as well. Triumph to a certain degree with a couple of models. You know, so that... Ducati, no, I don't think they've come out with anything new as in paint scheme. I don't think. And then Indian, I think they've tweaked theirs a little bit as well. So most motorcycle companies have, you know, they haven't done a lot of new tech this year, but they've tweaked with their paint. And Harley Davidson have pretty much gone overboard with that as well. There we go. So. There you go, Jeff LaFlog, not riding the way. Well, this is my point. This is my point. You know, it's. I mean, I'm sure there are lots of ways to keep your bike. You know, I've personally never been the kind of person who would look after my bike or spend hours detailing it just so I can go and ride it for 10 minutes. I'm the kind of person who would ride it for days and days and days and then wash it for 10 minutes and then away I go again. You know, so if I ever had a bike, or if I could have a bike that had a magic solution which I could just spray on it and it would just keep it clean, whatever, then that would be perfect for me. But yeah, that's right. You know, it's all I'm talking about is if you had to really, you know, get it if you, the only way you're going to really protect it. I've just noticed that I'm quite dark here. Let me see if I can put that light on and see if that's any different for you. Probably isn't. Let me come here. Oh my crikey, that is bright, isn't it? Oh dear. I'll tell you, let me come over here instead. There we go. This is a bit of a horror movie shot. I think I'll have to turn that off, isn't it? That's pretty awful. There we go. Oh no, maybe not. There we go. Right, so look, you know, just like the lighting here in the studio, the paint jobs can be good and they can be bad. But there we go. Anyway, look. So you know, motorcycle paint jobs. Whether you're buying a new one, whether you're trying to keep it, you know, in tip-top condition, it's a difficult one, I think sometimes. And I think you're basically onto a losing argument, really. You're never really going to be able to ensure that you're going to have any great success with keeping it. I mean, basically, it's going to be a painstaking thing, isn't it? And as I say, it really depends on the kind of person you are, whether you're going to spend all that time just trying to get it. I can't do that. Get it. You know, keeping it brilliant, or whether you're going to just accept, you know, that paint gets damaged, paint fades. You know, the unfortunate thing about motorcycles on a car, any slight little blemish, it's only a tiny proportion, a tiny percentage of the overall paint job on the vehicle, whereas the same sort of size mark on a motorcycle is a much bigger percentage of the paint job, you see. That's why, you know, it's a lot more noticeable, a lot more exposed as well. You know, what you know, it's all I was, you know, taking care of bike paint for me is right pain. I don't particularly enjoy it. I don't particularly enjoy washing my bike, and you know, I don't particularly enjoy having it, or necessarily particularly need a gleaming bike. It's nice, of course, it's beautiful. You know, you're riding on a dry summer's day and your bike is shining and it's lovely. Yeah, fantastic. And it looks absolutely horrible when it's dirty, covered in mud in the winter or whatever. I know. But you know, the only way to keep your bike in better condition is to just keep on regularly washing it and, you know, keep it protected. You know, as I say, people talk about different paint jobs on their bike, you know, when they're buying it, and they say, oh, this is a bad one, this is a poor one. I think you just got to go with what you're given. Then if you think it's a really bad job, your only option is to take it to a painter's later and have them do a really good paint job on it. And, you know, that's going to cost you a few £100, euros, dollars, whatever, you know, maybe 1,000, just to get a really half decent paint job with, you know, some thick paint on there, thick lacquer. But, you know, nothing's guaranteed. Now, we're not even talking about custom paint jobs here. Now, lots of people would say, okay, I want to have a custom paint job. I want the flames on that. You know, a few years ago, when all these bike building TV shows were coming on, you know, they were coming up with some ridiculous paint jobs, weren't they? Or some theme bikes and all this kind of stuff. And metal flake, and if I ever heard candy apple red again, I think I was going to scream as well. You know, metal flake in every single thing. You know, it looks good, don't get me wrong, but it was just too much. It was too much of a good thing, too much of a bad thing, really, in many ways. And some, you know, the skulls and the airbrushing and all that. Again, this is a personal thing. It's whether you like that kind of flame job, if you like those kind of skulls, if you like those designs on your bike, that's fine. I like a lot more minimal on my bike. Very minimal, very basic colours. If I did have any kind of design, you know, I'd want it something that I was introducing onto the bike. I want something very very stealth like, almost ghosting onto the paint job, as opposed to doing it. But, you know, I've taken it to, you know, whenever you have a custom paint job, you're going to pay a big premium for it. And that's the thing, because again, it's specialist, and again, but you know, that's what you want. If you want something that's individual, really, one of the big things that you can make your bike individual is by having a custom paint job. But the chances are, you got to make sure that when you have that custom paint job, that bike is yours for a long time, because you're likely going to be devaluing it, or you're certainly not going to get your money back on a custom paint job, because it really depends if somebody else really wants that paint job. And also, you got to think, well, actually, that other person buying their bike, whilst they're buying a bike with a custom paint job, it's not something that they've helped design or the concept that they've come up with, so they don't have that connection with that paint job. So therefore, you know, you're most likely not going to get the money that you think the bike's worth, because you know, people aren't going to be that connected to it. I mean, it's the same. It's the same for anything, isn't it? You know, you could do really expensive. Let me try this light on again. Really expensive. You can go to town on all these different colours, and this has happened to me quite a few times in the past, that I've bought new tech or whatever. I've spent quite a bit of money on a bike, and then a couple of months later, situation's changed and I've had to sell the bike. I haven't made money back on those parts or whatever, and complete waste of money, you know, with those parts that I put on there, or something that I painted on there. You know, whether you're having something repainted for a repair or something like that. Sometimes, you know, you just accept it for what it is. You know, accept its scrapes, its bumps, its bruises, and you just get on, ride the thing. Don't worry about what it looks so much, because you could end up spending a fortune. You could end up spending a fortune on this, you know. Jeff LaFlark, here we go. Let's get back into these comments. I'd like to be able to use my bike for touring as well. That means putting a tank bag, a duffel bag, strapping a roll to the front fork. Not sure a paint job would survive that sort of treatment. Well, I think, you know, it's one of those things you've got to. It's weird. I mean, I talked about this in previous videos when I was doing you know, sort of longer rides. And I'll say, you basically got to get some masking tape, not masking tape, but electrical tape, really thick electrical tape, and just tape over your tank, or put some vinyl wrap over it, just for the journey, and cover it over. That's the only way you're going to protect the tank. That's the only way you're going to protect your fenders. You've got to basically cover it over, because as well as I do, you're touring around. You're going to be tired. You're going to be knocking things left, right, and centre. And I kind of kind of regret. The two things I regret on the last three bikes that I had. That one, I didn't have ceramic coating on it. The last bike I did. This bike I didn't. But the other one is I probably should have gone heavy for a vinyl wrap, either a clear vinyl wrap or whatever. And I know it doesn't. You might change the colour of the bike and all that kind of stuff, and it might look messy. But I tell you what, in those first 6 months, year, 2 years, if you're going on any kind of tour, long ride, if you have it wrapped, it's so much better. On the panniers, I made my own wrap coverings on the most serviceable areas. On the last bike I did as well, and it protected it, and it's still protecting it today. So it's great. It's great having a great paint job, but it's almost like, if it's that good, if it's that brilliant, the bike is almost unrideable if you want to maintain it in that pristine condition. It's almost like it's not a natural way of riding for me. You've actually got to accept that you're going to get scrapes on it, or you're going to have to put extra protection on it, cover it over, to make that bike rideable in a natural sense. And for me, and that's what I would do. But I would certainly protect that paint. If you've got a paint scheme, even if you haven't got a paint scheme that you're particularly interested in, if you're going on you're going away for the weekend, you're going on a tour, whatever, you're going to be strapping bags to your bike on a regular basis, all that kind of stuff, or you're going to put a tank bag on the tank, I would cover it over with some kind of vinyl wrap on you buy it off eBay, just vinyl wrapping, just stick it on the bike, and away you go. Or stick it on the tins, and away we go. And let's try this. God, that is very, it's very spooky, isn't it? There we go. Right. Anyway, so paint, as I say, motorcycle paint, I'm just not that happy with. Also, not that I'm not happy with. It's just not my strong area, and even to talk about it, it's not really my strong area. As I say, if it's such a subjective thing, it's an individual thing, isn't it? Of having. Of when we're talking about motorcycle paint, is it what is good, what is bad? Lots of people moan about the paint, but also you got to look at, say, the riding conditions that you're riding in, what you're doing to protect that paint, how conscientious you are about protecting that paint. And it's such a big issue for a lot of people. Some people would say, well, all I'm doing is polishing my bike, and it's already gone through the clear coat, and so you've got to be so careful with what products you're using as well. Paul earlier on was talking about, he's got a denim paint job on his Harley Davidson. This denim paint job is very particular, and lots of people have been caught out with using different types of products or normal polishing products on there, and it ruins, well, I wouldn't say it ruins the paint job, but it changes that paint job. Which people didn't really want, and that's, so you got to be really careful with it. Harley Davidson, I've found, for the most part, I always knew that anyway, but there is a certain mindset about keeping your bike absolutely clean, and if you don't keep that bike clean, it's almost like it's not quite right. It's not really the done thing. For me, I don't really care. I mean, I certainly don't care what other people think, but I don't really care so much about the looks. I want it to look nice. I want it to look clean, and I wish I could have kept it clean and everything like that. But I'm not really that bothered by it. I've got to say, I'm not really that bothered about having a custom paint job. I'm certainly not interested in any flames or anything like that. I'm very much give me a black bike, that'll do. A shiny black bike or a matte black bike, that's all that matters to me. One of my favourite custom bike builders, and I was lucky I was fortunate enough to be able to do an interview with him last year. If you go back into live streams, you'll see it with Russell Mitchell from Exile Cycles in the United States. I love that kind of style of bike, and it's very much that style of bike. Whilst it was modern in terms of custom bikes, it was very much the kind of style that I grew up with in terms of colour schemes. Very simple colours. You know, it's all about the bike, the engine, the frame, you know, whatever, a tank, you know, a single black tank, that's it. And black's my favourite colour, so there we go. There we go. Right, okay, so Paul, window cleaner is best to clean denim paint. Is that right? Okay, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. That's it. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I know Harley Davidson do their own products, don't they, for denim paint, but I hadn't realised window cleaner is just as good. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't know. So I hadn't got denim paint. Let me just change this back over to camera 1. Here we go. Okay, so sorry about the lighting here. I mean, it's gone dark now, so I'm really gonna have to change that light there. But there we go. Right, Kenny, chemical guys do a full range of products for matte paint. Oh, right, okay, that's good. That's good. I'm sure there's lots of companies out there do all that sort of stuff. I wish I was more attentive in that respect. I wish I was more involved in that kind of, you know, really looking after your bike. I'm always trying different products. I'm always trying different solutions, and I think what I should have done, I know exactly where I went wrong, because what happened was I was riding my bike from the very first day I got it to and from work, and I was really trying to keep on top of the bike as soon as I got it, and I was getting into work and I was just finding anything that I could find at work to wash my bike and clean my bike and polish it. And I think that's what's ruined it. I was just using rags that I could find and these cheap polishers that I could find as well. And I thought I was, you know, being clever, but I wasn't. I think I kind of ruined my paint job a little bit. And then, you know, you have a couple of long runs, and, you know, it didn't protect the bike as good as I should have done, especially when I went on a big endurance ride, or was practicing for endurance rides, and I was putting tank bags on, and I, you know, marked the paint or scuffed the paint. If I'd just taken the time to vinyl wrap the whole thing, like I said I was going to do, I never actually got round to it, it would have been a lot better. It would have been a lot better. Kenny, they do the cleaner, the spot cleaner, and also a product to apply it on after to stop up damage as Matt can suffer from sun rays. Okay, yeah. I mean, I wish. Do you know my there's a couple of scratches on my bike here and there. I think the only way to get rid of those, because a couple of them are quite deep, the only way to get those is to have them redone. You know, but I would love. And I was very tempted. I was almost going to pull the trigger about back in the summer, actually. I was going to call in a professional detailer to detail the bike, completely detail it, completely go over it with a proper polisher, and then they were going to ceramic coat it. But it was £300 or something, or was it £400? £300? £290. That's a lot of money to do it. I'm sure it's worth it. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure it's worth it. But then I was thinking, okay, if my bike didn't have any scratches on it, I think I would have gone for it. I think I would have jumped, gone for that paint, that ceramic coating, that fine detail, because it's got those scratches on it, on the rear fender especially, a couple on the tank, but they're minor. I'm sure they'd be all right. But it's more the rear fender. And the side panels as well that I don't particularly like either. And I was just thinking, do you know what? No amount of detailing is going to be able to get rid of those, because they need to be filled and sanded back and everything like that. So there we go. Anyway, look, ceramic coat. What does that consist of? Well, it's a oh crikey! I don't know what the chemical composition is. Basically it's a product which you can buy it yourself and apply it. You basically you've got to make sure that the bike is pristine, clean, polished, and everything like that. then it's something that you liquid that you wipe over the bike, and in a very thin layer, and then I think you just let it dry, and it provides a hard outer shell. I don't know what the chemical composition is, but there are professional people who do this for you. Yeah, so you can buy your own that has it in it. And Paul, you've just said here Maguire ceramic hybrid, but that's almost like a hybrid. There's a professional version of it, and you have to go to a car workshop or a bike workshop, painting workshop, to have it done. I mean, if you go and buy a brand new motorcycle at that dealership, whatever it is, Harley Davidson, Suzuki, Kawasaki, whatever, Triumph, usually, well, where I am anyway, they offer a service where they can, via them, you can have the bike ceramic coated before you take delivery of it. And that was my big mistake when I bought this bike, that I had the option. I thought, no, I'd save myself £300. I'll just do it by myself later on. I never got round to it. There we go. That's the reason. I think the guy who does the ceramic coating in this area for all the dealerships, I can't remember, but I think it is a Korean. It is a Korean formula, or is it from Thailand? I can't remember exactly where it is, but it is a Korean formula which they're using. So it really depends where you are in the world. Your dealership might be able to hook you up with a ceramic coater, ceramic detailer in your area, or you just might have to go and search around to see whether somebody's doing bikes or cars, and they do the whole bike. They'll do the whole bike. Well worth it, definitely. If you're certainly from my point of view, if the bike is in really good condition, there's no point in, as they say, there's no point in polishing a turd. You know what I mean? You can't, you might as well just go for a new paint job, then have it done afterwards on that as well. But obviously you'd have to take advice on, that kind of stuff. But this guy who was going to do my ceramic coating, and he was adamant that you make your bike look absolutely, brand spanking new. But then I said I've got a couple of deep gouges in my paintwork. I might need to have that repainted. So I'm sure it will cost about £150, dollars, shekels, whatever, to have my rear fender painted off. I think, to do the tank, side panels, front mudguard, I think we're talking, I'd say, I don't know. I mean, actually, I haven't gone to it. I really don't know how much it would be. I would say it's going to be about £1,000 easily. I would say something like that. So, and that's what I'm thinking. I might as well just wait for another 2 or 3 years, let it degrade, whatever it is, and just then go for a proper paint job then of my own choice, and then away we go. That's it. Right, anyway, so, I mean, if anybody's got any answers to why a motorcycle paint is different to car paint these days, or the process, I would be really interested, because I say that's one thing that's always puzzled me, why motorcycles don't really get the attention in terms of this paint from the manufacturer than cars do. They've got a lot better, no doubt. They've got so much better over the years. But still, it's not as great as it could be. The problem is with motorcycles, as I say, everything is exposed. And where a car or a truck or a van or a pickup truck would get most of its problem would be on the underside. Now that's usually covered. Not only is the chassis and all the panels zinc coated beneath the zinc dipped, I should say, before they go to the paint booth. Actually, on the underside of the car, usually, I believe, it's not bare metal anymore, or painted metal. Usually they have some kind of coating on there, protective coating, and that's what keeps the car going. But, protected. But unfortunately, with bikes, that doesn't quite happen, does it? But there we go. Because everything's exposed. I suppose if you've got aluminium type frames and everything, they fare better, but obviously you're still going to get problems with aluminium, or aluminum as the Americans would say. But there we go. Right, listen, anyway, look, I'm going to head on out now, because it's got so dark here. outside. It's very, very gloomy. I think it's stopped raining at least. That's one good thing. Hope you've enjoyed that. Thanks for joining in. Anyway, thanks for coming along. I say I really just wanted to give this a little test. What I'm going to start doing at some point, I am going to come up with possibly like a weekly live show or something like that. Or whatever. I'm going to try and promote it. I'm going to try and get as many people on as well. That kind of thing. So I'm going to be discussing different things as well. But anyway, hopefully you found that fun. Great, something to do on a Saturday afternoon. But anyway, that's the plan for the future. There are more videos coming, lots more videos coming as well. I say I'm gonna do a bit more of this. I do have plans, as I say, to do some live workshop things, workshop projects coming on. I am looking at doing engine builds or engine strip downs as well, and I'm going to try and do it all from in here. So I mean, this will be like a live interactive type thing as well. I'm not sure if anybody's ever done it. I'm not sure if it's even worth doing it. I'm not sure if I've, it's a good thing to do, but I'm willing to give it a go. I'm willing to give it a go, and hopefully have a bit of fun. And it might be that the live stream goes on. And I start in the morning. And the live stream will be all day, basically. So you can just pop in and out of it and whenever you want. And I'll probably just have one camera looking over the top. And then another camera, maybe like a dual camera setup. And then I can talk about close up with the bike or the engine, I should say. And then an overview of the workshop as well. So hopefully that will work. That will work well. Jeff. What time do I do my live streams? Right now, they're just all over the place right now. It really depends. Just watch out on my community feed or the website. I'm not announced when I'm going to do a live stream. But I will try and get some consistency, and I will try and do it. It really depends what type of live stream I'm going to do, whether it's this kind of discussion thing or whether I'm going to do a workshop view. Well, the workshop views will probably happen on my days off, and they'll probably be quite a few hours in duration. So they'll probably start mid-morning and go all the way to the afternoon as well. So there we go. Right. Anyway, right. I'm going to head on out. That's it. Good night. Good night. Thanks very much. Enjoy your Saturday evenings. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. If you can, if you're able, be safe out there. Keep yourselves safe from each other and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully we'll be through this very, very soon. Hopefully, we can all be, we're just, riding bikes, having fun, meeting up with each other, going to cafes, pubs, restaurants, whatever. Right, anyway, thanks very much, everybody. I am gonna leave it there, and I'll see you on the next one, whenever that is. I say lots more videos coming, lots more excuse me, lots more live streams coming as well, but not immediately. The last couple of days I've been doing lots of little live streams, but I'm testing. I think I've pretty much got it sorted now. All I need to do is make sure that I do a test before, so it really depends, so I can compensate for the internet speed at the time, and then it'll all be good. Right, bye all, thanks very much, I'll see you again. Ta-da.